Welcome in. Where was my intro music? Great start to the year. Welcome in. This is the Jock Market Power Hour. I'm Rick Gaiman. That right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, I'm so rusty. I forgot how to click the intro music. Where'd it go?
It's been a couple weeks, man. We'll forgive you for a little bit of rust. We're just like a lot of the guys this week. This is like an exhibition match before we get to the real season.
How are you, man? Happy New Year.
I'm
Excited
doing
to
great.
be back at this with you.
Absolutely, man. Excited. We were talking just before we went on. I think the Sentry last year was our first ever show, so it's excited now. We've been on the airwaves for a full year doing this Power Hour. Appreciate all you guys coming along for the ride with us, and excited to do it again in 2022.
Yeah, there are a lot of exciting things to talk about. But if you've just stumbled in here, if you're like, what is the Jock Market Power Hour? Well, good news. You're in the right spot. Hang tight. This is stock market DFS. This is the ability to buy, sell, short shares of athletes. We're going to be talking specifically about the Sentry Tournament of Champions because, Joe, we're in a very important phase right now. We are in the IPO phase where you can actually bid on these shares of golfers. And just before 9 o'clock Eastern time, those shares are going to be allocated. You're going to have a portfolio to start with tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we may have hopefully some new people in here this week. So we'll try to do our best to kind of explain how this whole thing works. Like you mentioned, there's basically a 90-second window before 9 p.m. Eastern where this market is going to close, and you will be allocated all the shares where you have a bid price of at least the current offering or greater. So you can bid on guys now. You can do what a lot of people do and wait for the final sort of 5-minute flurry to see where these numbers shake out, because what you're going to see over the next 40 minutes or so is these prices on players continue to bump up based on bids that are coming in. There are 290 active shares of every single, all 38 players in the field tonight that are available. You can see that the activity within the app is rampant already. And we've already got some guys at some decent high prices. So we're here to walk through it with you. That's it.
Couple of notes before we get started. We're giving away cold, hard Jock Bucks. All you have to do is put your Jock Market username in the chat. We will give out 5 different $20 amounts for your Jock Market expenditures. You can go out and buy anything you want with it. Do whatever you want. It's your money. I don't care. Just make sure your Jock Market username is in the chat. If you have not deposited, we have the best available deposit bonus for you. It's POWER. POWER. That is up to a $50 deposit bonus. So you can walk away with quite a bit of cash this evening. But Joe, I also have a couple of interesting developments here. We've been asking for this, hey, maybe a web version, right? You know, sometimes you're hunched over your phone at 8:57 and you're trying to get all your bids in. I've got a web version for you, my friend. Here it is. This is the web version. From my understanding, this is in beta right now, Joe, correct? But you can now access these contests. You can make your bids, make your trades on your computer.
Yes, you cannot type in this URL on your phone. It will not work. You have to be sitting at a desktop. But as you see, some cool little features added. I really like the clean sort of aesthetic look that they have. They have the global leaderboard. You can bid on guys. You can do all the trading that you do on your phone now from a desktop. So it makes it a little easier. You can join in on this show on your phone and trade on your desktop, vice versa. Whatever's easier for you. They're both pretty seamless, and they've made this thing pretty easy for the user.
Yeah, and that global leaderboard has a couple of familiar names on it, I believe there, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Some ones that I certainly recognize. That's exciting update number 1. Exciting update number 2 is if you want to chat with anyone else who's in the Jock Market world, even the guys who run the site, there is a way to do that. Because, Joe, there is a brand new Discord. And I have to admit, I'm in the Discord. I'm going to have to get my bearings. There's a lot going on over there, but a nice, exciting way to be able to chat, stay in touch, see what the news is, learn strategies, share successes, things of that nature.
Absolutely, yeah. Basically a giant group chat. You can use it as much or as little as you want, but feel free. Most of the people in here are very friendly and willing to help you out. So if you have any questions as a beginner or any advice, feel free to shoot it out there. And either the guys who built the app or the people that are best at the app will probably reply to you with a solid answer pretty quickly.
I have put the link to the Discord in the description. So that is the way that you can get into the Discord, and I'm in there. And if you send me a message, I'll do my best to figure it out and learn how to do it over the course of the next couple of days. But you can chat with me as well. I'm sure Joe will be in there here shortly. But we've got some golf here, my friend. And we've only got 39 minutes until this IPO closes. So we've got to get to the golf. And when we get 38 winners from last year, all teeing it up in Maui, it's an exciting time. I'm just excited, Joe. I think there's going to be a lot of value this evening. This is a fun, unique course. It's primetime golf. It doesn't get much better than this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Beautiful, picturesque resort style views from the top of the tee boxes out there in Maui. Obviously, 38 of the best players in the world. The prerequisite was winning an event last season. So, all in relatively good form themselves. These guys love coming to this place, and I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Par 73, wide open fairways. It's a nice place to shake a little rust off and get a little tune up for the upcoming season.
Yeah, and just to put this into perspective, especially for those of you who are new and wanting to see the results from last year. Well, I've got all the results on my website, RickRunGood.com. They're free. They're under free tools. You can go check them out right now. Harris English won this event, Joe. He was $6.34 in the IPO. Joaquin Niemann finished second. He was $7. They paid out $25 and $20 respectively. Are we going to see that value range continue to rear its head this evening, that $5 to $7 area?
I think so. And interestingly enough, I think as people, myself included, and users have started to get our feet under us in this app, we've seen prices, and I know we kind of saw this with the Hero show that we do, and even with the Tour Championship, where it's kind of all coming together a little bit closer in that mid-range, and we're not going to see 11.55 tonight on Justin Thomas. I highly doubt that we see anyone maybe clear $10 a share. You look at how those guys fared last year. Looks like 3 out of the 4 that were over $10 ended up either gaining a very slight profit or losing you a little bit of ROI. What we kind of saw at the Hero is kind of what I think we're going to see tonight, where everyone's kind of lumped in maybe this like $8 to $4 range, and there's a pretty wide spectrum within it.
Okay, well, let's start at the top because it's time for our market movers. This is the segment where Joe and I go on the record. Oh, it's been a couple of weeks. Go on the record and pick out a golfer in each of the 3 tiers of this jock market. And we make a case for them and we say, hey, these are guys we want to plant our flag with. So let's just start with the big boys, Joe. Let's start with the the blue chippers, the guys at the top. Who has your attention for this evening?
Yeah, I'll take Xander. Look, the course history is phenomenal. We know that the approach is sort of the strength of his game. He's been working through a couple of kinks with the driver late there in the fall. I think this is a good place to sort of get that right. And we know that he always plays well here, right? He competes here year after year. It's a spot that he likes coming to. I expect him to play really well this week. He's such a well-rounded player that I think if the price is right tonight, he makes a pretty safe choice as your blue chip.
Yeah, he has been a winner in jock markets, 13% ROI on average, which is kind of hard to do because his average IPO has been over $8.50. You can see plenty of upside. Those are a lot of second place finishes, but that generally gets the job done for Xander Schauffele as he tries to close out more and more golf tournaments. I think he would have been certainly on my short list, Joe, Xander Schauffele, for this evening. I'm just going to go with Jon Rahm. Is that a cop-out to just take like the best player in the world, maybe by far, and be like, hey, there's this weird sentiment around him. He didn't play well at the Fortinet. He didn't play particularly well in the 2 European Tour events that he played after that. And then we just haven't seen him. What is the general consensus for Jon Rahm this week?
It just, to me, it feels like unless he wins, it seems like he's probably going to lose that world #1 spot. And it gets to the point when you're just at the top, you're just not as sexy of a pick anymore. It's like when they stop giving LeBron like the MVP every year.
We're tired of voting for this guy.
It just gets sort of tired, and you want to see the new fresh blood and Morikawa and Hovland and Thomas and all these sexier names, so to speak, go up there. Look, I think I have him as the #1 player in my rankings this week on your projected ranks in terms of IPO. He's 7th, which I think is obviously an error. I think we all expect him to be well up there, and that'll sort itself out right after IPO anyways. But yeah, nothing wrong doing there, taking John Rahm to be a blue chip.
All right, let's move a little bit further down the board. Our mid caps. These are golfers that we believe will finish in the middle of this 38-player jock market. Although we've been pretty bad. I've been personally bad at trying to find the guys that finish in the middle. They end up finishing closer to the blue chip category. But Joe, who are you targeting in the middle of this?
Oh, I love Cameron Smith this week, Rick. He just makes a ton of birdies. The short game is great. The putting is fantastic. He turned himself into what was a terrible Bermuda grass putter into maybe one of the best if you look in terms of recently. Not the longest off the tee, but I think these fairways have those sort of slides, basically, that I call them, where if you hit the right angle, it takes you down to the natural sort of landing area. Still manages to score great on the par fives and likes himself a little bit of Hawaii golf. So I'm going to take Cam Smith.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal in cash markets, 47% average ROI, his average IPO. Yeah, it's a big number. 3 straight profitable cash markets. He's made you money in, let me just make sure. Yeah, like 7 of his last 9, something like that. So certainly someone that seems to play well, especially when a lot of the bigger names come to town when fields get more difficult. For my mid-cap player, I've struggled with this. I've gone back and forth. I've tried to figure it out. I'm going to go with Taylor Gooch. $3.50 at the moment. That will certainly go up, but this could be the year of Taylor Gooch, right? He was the fall MVP. He won. Yeah. He piled up top 10s. We're going to learn a lot about him in the next 3 months. And if what we learn is that he continues to be a really top level ball striker and starts putting himself in contention constantly, I want to pay a lower price for it now than when it goes up in 3 months and we never get to see Taylor Gooch in the middle of this board again. That's kind of the way I feel. We're going to learn a lot, and I'd rather be early than late.
No doubt. Love it.
All right. That leaves us with our penny stocks. And you can let us know in the chat who your blue chippers are, who your mid caps are, who your penny stocks are, or you could just throw us off. You know, put out a name you're not interested in. See if you can get some guys out there to take the bait. Either way, comment, make sure you like the video, leave your Jock Market username. All that stuff helps us. Come on, help us out a little bit. Penny stock, Joe, where are you going?
I'm going to take Joel Damon. I know that we both liked him in the odds checker piece, but I like him here as well. Look, I thought he played really, really solid in the fall. 5 out of 5 cuts made, obviously sort of peaked at the Houston. You see there where I think he finished paying out $15 a share. The approach play has just been really solid. I think he's just consistent enough. I'm hoping that he shows up this week. I think he's going to end up being probably one of the bottom 10 players in terms of pricing this week, which I think could present some opportunity, especially in a place like Jock Market. Like, you don't need him to win outright. You don't need him to even finish top 10. If you need him to finish 28th or better or so this week, I like Joel Damon in that kind of atmosphere and environment to sort of outperform the expectation.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of saw similar things with Joel Damon, the approach play, all that good stuff. So I'm going to pivot here, and I'm going to go with someone who might be even cheaper than Joel Damon. It's KH Lee. And I got to give KH Lee a little bit of credit here. You know, he won this event right here, the AT&T Byron Nelson, got the full $25 payout on a $3.37 IPO, by the way. So big ROI there. And then he had the hangover, which is 5 events where he didn't play well, but that's kind of normal for some of these guys that don't win often. You see the hangover, and then he really started to get it back into gear. The advanced metrics came back. He had a great finish to 2021, Joe. So I'm thinking you're going to get KH Lee very cheap. I think there's an opportunity that, again, like you said, T22 might do it, right? Like you don't need him to win the golf tournament to return you some cash.
No doubt. That's the beauty of the Jock Market, is basically it's just outperforming the expectation dependent upon where the price point ends up at the close of IPO. So a couple of guys, I see some bids coming in. I have the Jock Market website up, and you can kind of see the activity. KH Lee, bids are coming in, Rick. You're
Oh
pumping them.
boy. Oh boy. I also saw people entering into the Discord as I was talking about it. So things
Nice.
are happening. Let me add a little bit more pandemonium here and give away a little bit of money. The first $20 goes to Commish Joe. Congratulations. We'll get you set up with that in your account. And if you would like to win $20 into the Jock Market, it is very simple to do. All you have to do is drop your Jock Market username in the chat and you'll be entered into a draw. But I think, Joe, it is time to unveil the big board for the first time here in 2022. Are you ready for this, my friend?
Let it rip.
The most expensive golfer in the Sentry Tournament of Champions, Jock Market at 8:31 p.m. is Justin Thomas, which, Joe, should probably not be a surprise. He's $6.33 at the moment. He is an elite ball striker. He is the number one pre-ranked golfer, and he's made plenty of noise in Hawaii.
Plenty of noise in Hawaii. We've seen him recently. I think he has 4 top 5s within his last 6 starts. Now, granted, some of those are in smaller field events. We know he loves Hawaii. We know that he's number 1 on your odds board. We know that he's number 1 in the pre-rank this week. All reasons to like Justin Thomas. And he's inching up pretty close to that sort of projected fair value price already at 660, which may be a little bit low, basically asking him to finish 9.4 in terms of position or better to end up paying that out. But JT, you can see the performances there. He's been solid on the ROI through the end of the late fall. Expect him to play well. I think there's other guys I like a little bit more at the top, but I respect it.
How much are you considering the competitive golf that we've seen from these guys? We've seen a lot of Justin Thomas. You know, he played a couple of events in the fall. He played the Hero World Challenge. He played the PNC Championship just a couple of weeks ago. So we know he's been playing competitive golf. Other guys like Jon Rahm, a little bit less. Patrick Cantlay, even less than that. How much are we considering what we've seen with our own eyeballs over the past couple of months?
I know there's kind of like beauty and fear in the unknown because we just have seen Justin Thomas. We know a little bit more about where the state of his current game is at, and there's a lot of unknown. Now that can be good, that can be bad when it comes to Jon Rahm, when it comes to Patrick Cantlay, guys that we just haven't seen in seemingly like 3 months since the Tour Championship. So it can kind of go both ways. I think what we have seen from JT has been pretty solid. So there's been no real reason for me to be overly concerned about the form and showing up at a place with his dad, obviously, by his side this week, which always seems to bring him good vibes. Hawaii in general, as he's always played really solid here. So I expect that to continue.
You mentioned there were guys that you preferred at the top of this board. Would you like to divulge who those might be?
Yeah, so it's really 2. I think Rahm and Morikawa are the 2. I just think they're a little bit better than Justin Thomas right now. I think they're better players. I think they set up better here, maybe not in terms of form history, but Morikawa is so solid everywhere. And Rahm, we saw for stretches play really well here previously. So I just think those are probably the number 1 and 2 players in the world right now. So I like them a little bit over JT.
Colin Morikawa currently $5.50, while Jon Rahm is $6 a share. We're already seeing them stack up there, right? I've got basically a dozen guys between $5 and $6.75. But what we've seen is it really only takes, a couple of guys to get hot on JT or hot on Xander, and you find yourself, we'll get much closer to that $10 mark. Who of these golfers, let's call it Cantlay, Rahm, Xander, JT, Morikawa, that's going to be overlooked this evening? Who do you think is going to end up being kind of the cheapest of those guys?
I think one guy that might be sneaky kind of cheap this week is maybe Victor Hovland. I don't know if he's one of those guys that you mentioned, but obviously coming in with 2 victories. He's had a little bit of social media stuff this week with the broken driver and stuff. And we've seen actively that scare people off in the past when they make a comment in a press conference or they show a snap driver. So I think he goes a little bit below what I would expect him to tonight. We may see a little bit of bonus on him. Something interesting that happened in this particular market, Rick, earlier in the day is our guy WW basically swept the floor on this entire IPO and bought shares of every single player. So these guys we're essentially at $1.50, $1.75. This has been this way since basically 3 o'clock today. So I don't know if he's in here. I can't quite pinpoint what the strategy may be, but I haven't seen that move made before. So if anybody has any ideas in terms of what the evil genius is thinking, we'll know more soon. But yeah, these guys have basically kind of maintained the same price point as they have been for the last couple of hours right now.
You mentioned that like narrative thing that we always play. Has that ever worked out for us? Right? Colin Morikawa saying his club doesn't go through the turf. He wins the Open Championship. Bryson DeChambeau saying he has zero expectations and he feels terrible. Was that the week he won API or almost won something? Victor breaks his driver at Mayakoba, borrows James Hahn's and wins. Yeah. Like, does this ever work in the negative? It's always
that's why I'm almost trying to. I've taken a new leave this year, and I'm not going to buy into the narrative. I'm going to go the opposite way and see if it works out. Terrell Hatton, I remember, is another one. I think at the Palmetto, where he said his game has never been in a worse place, and he had his best finish of the PGA Tour season. So it's like it's scary. It's almost like too much information. Can sometimes be a detriment in some degrees. These guys aren't going to let everything on, and the reality is it's golf, and there's a certain bit of randomness to it that makes it exciting, and anything can happen when the best players get together.
We are obviously headed for a Daniel Berger, Victor Hovland playoff with both guys having club troubles this week. And Joe, is there any place that you can get a live reaction? WW has joined and let us know. Okay. Yeah, he was trying to pump up the number of available shares, and then he says, didn't work. So that's what he was up to.
They're on to you, man. I appreciate the effort. I was wondering what went on because I'm checking out the website earlier, and I'm like, why is nobody $1 per share right now? And then, of course, I go through the activity and see our famous friend here did a little bit of digging and work. But, yeah, we'll see how things go out. These guys are going to kind of maintain these reasonably low price points until, as we know, the last 5 minutes gets electric and things happen very fast.
Yeah, so we saw, I think Xander's moved up a little bit. He's $6.27, but everyone hanging kind of down there at the same spot. So who are these guys in the middle that we think are going to break out? Because Sam Burns, different in other formats, Joe, Sam Burns seems to be a little bit more valuable here in the jock market, especially because of this 3 in his pre-rank column. If you're following along at home and you don't know what that means, that pre-rank, it breaks ties, and it's very important in golf. Think about it. If you have 5 golfers tied for 4th, Sam Burns would break the tie with almost anybody except for Justin Thomas and Victor Hovland. So who do you think out of this kind of middle section is most likely to break out and make a move here in the next 20 minutes or so?
I love Burns this week. I have been on him for a while and do almost every week. He's really just doesn't have a real deficiency right now. For instance, Rick, I looked at like 9 different stat categories. He's in the top half of the field in every single one of those. The only player in the field to not have sort of a weakness, so to speak, in a strokes gain category or a metric standpoint. So he's doing everything so fantastically. One of the guys that's really sort of fascinating to me in that range right now, and I kind of want your take on it. Where are we at with Jordan Spieth?
Yes,
down in the $4 range.
Yes,
it's hard to know. I know that things are happening. The new baby, like he had the weird thing at the Hero where he teed off at the wrong tees and played terribly there. I think finished last or second to last. So, what's going on?
He was next on my list to talk about because I agree with you. This storyline or my interest in Jordan Spieth is so high this week. I would not be surprised to see him win. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish 38th. That is basically how I feel about. I mean, he was horrendous at the Hero World. He finished dead last by a mile, right? I mean, it was bad. The end of his 2021 wasn't great. He was pretty optimistic about his game in some. I don't think it was actual pressers, but I think he gave some interview responses over there in Maui, and he was pretty optimistic about his game. But I don't know if there's anything to read into. What I will say is if you're willing to take on the risk of a golfer, Jordan Spieth is the guy you want to take a risk on. He's got the magic putter. He's been great at Kapalua. The uneven lies remind you a lot of Augusta National. There's just like, this is the guy I'd be willing to take the risk on, fully knowing it might backfire, but I think he's the best risk to take.
I agree. And if you're in this thing this week to sort of gamble and go boom or bust, I think that he's sort of the natural play if he ends up sort of in the middle of the field in IPO price. You hit the nail on the head with all three of the things I was thinking in terms of reasons to go in on Spieth in terms of the upside.
We are at 8:41 p.m. Eastern time, which means this IPO is going to close in the next 15 to 17 minutes. If you're just joining, this is the time in the jock market where you can bid on shares of golfers. And right before 9 o'clock Eastern time, that phase is going to close and shares are going to be allocated. I'm going to fund some accounts right now. So let me add $20 to the account of Sport Junkie. Congratulations, you are on the board. You are in. We'll get that money over in your account in 1 to 1 million business days. Just bear with us as we take care of that. But Joe, we're not seeing much movement in the market, my friends.
No, we aren't. I think everyone's kind of waiting. It's like the end of a horse race where everyone's sort of jockeying for position for that last couple of minutes. Yeah, you clicked them there. I was going to ask you about him. Where are we at on big Bryson DeChambeau this week? He looked terrible in the match.
Yeah.
He didn't look great at the Hero, but we know he's been working, right? If there's anything we know about Bryson, it's that he hasn't taken a long vacation and not picked up the clubs in a while. My concern, Rick, with Bryson is that he's continuing, and I don't really know this is true because I'm not close to his camp at all. This is just pure speculation, but I see the videos, I see what he posts online, and my concern is that he did an incredible job of taking himself from like tour average to maybe slightly below tour average to the longest player on the PGA Tour. But it seems like his energy and his focus and maybe his practice is still focused on getting longer. And I'm like,
oh yeah, he's not done.
It's all he's doing, right? It seems that way. But it's like you already did it. You're already at the top of the mountain. Like, how about 4 hours on the putting green? How about 6 hours with a wedge? Like, a la what Dustin Johnson did right before his reign, where he just basically focused on hitting gap wedge, pitching wedge, 9-iron. And because he knew his driver was such an advantage already, that's my concern with Bryson. Do you think it's valid, or is he well-rounded and poised to have a big year?
I believe that he practices on golf instead of long drive much more than he leads on. I think we only see the long drive stuff and the speed training and the I bomb it very far because that's his brand, right? I don't know if anybody wants to see Bryson spend 4 hours on the putting green, right? It's not the clicks. It's not all that stuff. I will tell you, I need this event to start because the longer I go on, the more bullish I get on Bryson DeChambeau and the more money I'm probably going to lose on him. This is a really good course for him to break the math, Joe. So he finished T7 here last year, and he only gained strokes off the tee. He lost strokes on approach. He lost strokes around the green. He lost strokes putting. He's able to really separate himself here, and I think the math problem that he's been trying to change for the last 2 years, it's a lot easier to solve here, I believe.
Let me ask you sort of a narrative question that I struggle with a little bit on Bryson. Would you rather have him at a place like Kapalua where he can just unleash Kraken without consequence really everywhere? And do you think his advantage is greater there? Or would you rather have him at a place like, I don't know, like Winged Foot that's really tight where he still hits driver, but his advantage out of the rough is better? Like which?
It's both. It's you want him on the extremes. You don't want him in the middle. He is at his best when everyone's hitting the fairway or no one's hitting the fairway. He has the big advantage in both of those scenarios. So this is a really good spot for him. It's just kind of opposite of Winged Foot. So I'm really excited. Him and Jordan Spieth, I think, are two of the more fascinating. Like, I'm so dying to see how this ends up shaking out.
I like that.
Back to the big board here, and I'll give away $20 more here in just 1 second. So make sure your Jock Market username is in the chat. We're about 12, 13, 14 minutes away from this IPO phase closing. John Rahm has crossed over the $7 mark, now $7.03, with Justin Thomas and Xander Schauffele, the only two other golfers, over $10. Let me go down the board a little bit more, Joe, because I know your guys hanging here at $3.25. You mentioned the match. Well, Brooks Koepka won the match, and then he finished about middle of the pack at the Hero World Challenge, and he has lost you money. Oh, my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive cash markets. Brooks
Yeah.
Koepka has lost you money. It's like DraftKings stock at
Yeah,
this
when you
point.
say you money, you really mean me money.
I really
He
mean
lost
you.
me
I'm sure. Yes, I really mean you. I don't even know what the question is. Can he turn it around? Are we investing? Are we not touching this until a major championship? I don't even know what question to ask.
I'm not touching it right now. Oh man, but I might.
Yeah.
Look, I didn't bet him this week. I'm off of him in DraftKings, but like the price point now, what is he, like 325? Looks like there's some upside there for me. Um, I think that I really do believe that he's going to have a bounce back and a healthy year, which I think is the important thing. Like he battled injuries last year. The knee injury that he had in just kind of knowing some people in and around his camp was pretty severe that he came back from Augusta on. Like he worked his ass off to come back from that. I think it would have derailed a lot of people into the late summer. But he sort of battled through it. I'm just looking forward to him having a healthy year. We know he's going to sort of is his focus is on those 4 months of the 4 major championships, and that's where it's always been. I worry that this is just kind of a complete tune-up for him. But if it stays in that low $3 range, I could see myself in the end firing off a couple of shares. But yeah, it has not been a profitable venture for me.
No, it has not. Now, I've just gotten the notification, Jock Market. Oh, the IPO is closing soon. That we're about 10 minutes out. So my phone starting to light up, and I know this Jock Market is going to as well. Justin Thomas back over $7 with John Rahm. So the only 2 golfers over $7 at the moment. Let's continue further down the board here, Joe, because I want to get into some of these other penny stock options. Seamus Power is $3, even shorter than that. Our guy Joel Damon still hanging here at $2.25. I'm a bit partial to Cam Davis at $2 even. Yeah, anybody else here that we think is worth giving a favorite to and keeping an eye on for the next 10 or 12 minutes?
One guy I think is sort of an interesting case, Max Homa. So there's not many young, talented, what do I want to say, guys with like a nice personality that like are very much marketable, that can win twice in 7 months on the PGA Tour and still like be relatively overlooked, right? Like there's all the reasons that we have to like Max. He obviously won at Riviera, which is a big time tournament and a big time field against the best players in the world. Back that up with a win at the Fortinet, and they still price him in like this 80 to 100 to 1 range. I feel like a lot of other players, had they gotten 2 wins, since March, would be, down there with the guys like Gooch and with Kokrak and with English and these other guys. So I feel like he's perennially still a little bit overlooked in general for how good of a year that he had and how good of a player I think that he is.
But why? Why are we over? I have an opinion of why, but why is he overlooked?
I don't know. Tell me your opinion on it.
His game's not sexy.
Got it.
Which is not, listen, I would love Max Homa's game. About everyone but about 20 golfers on the planet would love Max Homa's game. But I think that we look at Bryson and what he does with the driver, or John Rahm, or Rory McIlroy, even guys with unique swings, Big Tony Finau, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Max Homa just gets a little bit better every year. Nothing he does is all that sexy. He gets the job done. That is why it's stupid, but I honestly cannot come up with any other reason why this guy is not more popular than he is.
Yeah, he's a good par 5 scorer. Look, he's come through in the clutch in a couple of occasions. He chased down, I think it was Mav McNeely at the Fortinet, and then fended off, who was it, Finau in a playoff at Riviera, won at Quail Hollow.
Yeah.
Like, these are big time events on big boy courses. And he's shown the ability to come through and win. Is he as consistent as I would like him to be? No, but I think that he's getting there. I think that he's trending in a right direction. He's still young enough where he's still actively getting better. And the more confidence that he can acquire, I think the better that he'll play.
Max Homa currently $2.50. Any big surprises right now, Joe? I think for me, it's Colin Morikawa's $5.50. Now, I imagine that is going to move, but he's currently priced the same as Cam Smith, Daniel Berger, cheaper than Sam Burns. Is that the biggest surprise, him or maybe Jordan Spieth?
Yeah, as I'm kind of scrolling through myself here, I would say Colin Morikawa. There's been a lot of love, and we see what we see a lot of times in Jock Market is you hear a guy's name on a lot of podcasts and a lot of shows, and the public sentiment starts to get there. They're very popular. Mark Leishman's in the bottom half right now, and I've heard his name quite a bit this week. He's sitting there below $3 a share, like below Billy Horschel, below Patrick Reed, below Seamus Power right now. So that's another one I would expect to make a little bit of a jump here late.
I get Mark Leishman wrong every single time I try to get Mark Leishman. Here he is, though, 28% average ROI. He loses more. See, this is what I think is interesting. We see these guys a lot where he's lost you money in more cash markets than he's won you in, but he is when he turns you a profit, Joe, it's fairly sizable. He's kind of like a popper, right? Which if you're looking for those types of guys in your portfolio, he's available. That's what he does. He pops.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that graph illustrates that perfectly. Yeah, there's a ton of upside there with him, but you may have to shelter through a couple of losses on the way.
Yeah, you certainly might. So my clock says 8:51. Now, as we know, and I'll give you the reminder here, 8:57, we're going to enter a 90-second window, Joe, and then it is random. That IPO can close at any point in that 90-second window. It can close at second number 2 or second 82 or 51, whatever, anytime in there. So we have not seen much movement at all in this market since we've been on air. Yeah. I think that's about to change in a big way, I think.
That's about to change. And a couple of tips to help you if you're relatively new at this. Favorite the guys now that you're looking to target. Number one, it will help you to sort of shrink the available players that you're seeing and really hone in on the guys that you want to go after and think are going to play well. Two, go to your settings in the app, turn on the notifications when you get outbid because you are going to want to see that sort of pop up, so that you know that if you still like that player, you've got to go and rebid on them at a higher price, or you see the current price point and you'll say, I'm willing to sort of pivot and go elsewhere. But those are two things, because as we know, this next 5 minutes here, there is a flurry of activity, particularly for new users, could sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, but you have to have quick fingers going at it.
Quick fingers. I'm going to get you out of here in just 1 second, Joe, but we've got a 38 golfer field. What would be your ideal portfolio size when I come back to you in about 5 minutes?
Man, there's a lot of attractive prices right now, so I might go in relatively big tonight. We'll see how this thing ends up, but I usually like to keep it in between that sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that type of range that I'm looking to build with.
All right, well, good luck to you, Joe. This is the point in the show that we take it from here, and Joe is going to go make his bids, and I'll take you the rest of the way, and then we'll look at his portfolio in just a few minutes. But it is 8:53, which means we are 4 minutes away from entering that 90-second window in which this can close at any time. And at this moment, we have 3 golfers over $7. Jon Rahm and Justin Thomas are both $7.77. Xander Schauffele, the only other golfer, over $7. We have a bunch of golfers in the $6 range. Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa. Morikawa is seeing a bit of movement upwards. Victor Hovland, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, and Sam Burns. That rounds out the 6s. Daniel Berger and Tony Finau are the only 2 golfers in the $5 range. And I'll point out a couple of notables before I give this a refresh. Jordan Spieth, still $4. Brooks Koepka, still $3.25. I believe that got an eyebrow raise from Joe when I mentioned Brooks Koepka. That is his natural reaction. He does that every time he hears his name. No matter what's going on. Here we go. We're getting some bids in. Justin Thomas is starting to make a move. So Justin Thomas is $8.02. He is the number 1 pre-ranked golfer. So whoever ties with Justin Thomas wins that tie. He breaks that tie. So it's very valuable in the world of golf. Justin Thomas has returned you a profit in 2 straight cash markets, 3 of his last 4. We know he's been playing a lot of competitive golf recently. There's no questions about the shape of his game. Cannot say the same thing about Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, the number 1 player in the world for maybe 1 more week. We'll see if he can continue that after the Sentry Tournament of Champions. We do have questions. We do have questions about his form, how much he's been playing. He's $7.77, and he's the 7th pre-ranked golfer. That's also probably factoring into his current pricing and his current spot in this jock market right now. I'm going to give this a refresh because it's 8:55. We're 2 minutes away. 2 minutes away from this IPO phase, entering that very critical 90-second window in which you can close at any moment. So I'm going to try to give this a lot of refresh here. Yeah, okay, here we go. Now we're making moves. Now the bids are coming in. $8.91 for Justin Thomas, $8.75 for John Rahm. That's up $1 since the last time I just checked a minute ago. Victor Hovland trying to catch up. Vic, only Justin Thomas breaks ties with him. He doesn't need a driver. He'll use anybody's driver. He'll use my driver. He'll get the job done. He's coming in off 2 consecutive victories. Bryson DeChambeau, 766, and Patrick Cantlay, 733, join Xander Schauffele as the only golfers above $7. Are we seeing any other movement from the notables? Spieth goes from $4 to $5.56. Brooks goes from $325 to $481. Seeing a little bit of movement from the bottom of the board here. Who else have we talked about? Cam Davis up to $310. Max Homa $353. Seamus Power off of his number up to $436. But Abe Answer, listen, I'm not a huge fan of Abe Answer this week, but he is now cheaper than Seamus Power, Jason Kokrak, Patrick Reed, and a lot of guys that he is higher than on the odds board. It is $856 on the East Coast. I'm going to try to refresh this real quick here because we are getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're getting down to this IPO phase closing. When this IPO closes, these shares are going to be allocated, and you guys do not want to be left empty-handed because you're bidding, and you're bidding high. Justin Thomas, $9.14. John Rahm, $9.01. Bryson has overtaken Victor, now $8.87. A lot of late movement on Bryson DeChambeau. It's $8.57. We're in the 90-second window. This IPO phase can close literally any second. It might be closed right now. I don't even know. I'm going to keep going. Daniel Berger and Colin Morikawa at $6.80. That's shocking. I got to try to sneak in a refresh here because I think we're going to see a lot of movement. I got to try to sneak in a refresh. This IPO can close at any moment. Chad has joined us. He says, don't bid on Brooks. I don't know if that is a warning or he is trying to encourage, people to stay away so that he can bid on them. I guess we'll find out in just a little bit. But here we go. Patrick Cantlay, big mover. Cantlay is now over $8. He's the 4th most expensive golfer. Bryson DeChambeau still at $8.87, and John Rahm and Justin Thomas both over $9. Any big movements? No. Jordan Spieth, where is he? I can't even find him. $5.90. Brooks Koepka, $481. Not much movement from those guys. We're seeing bigger movement from Tony Finau. We're seeing bigger movement from Cam Smith. We're seeing bigger movement from Xander Schauffele, but not much movement from some of the blue chip stocks. I'm going to try to give this one more refresh because, Joe, I think we can close it literally any second here. I got
it's getting close. We're still open.
We're still open, but not for much longer. A little bit of love for Colin Morikawa and Daniel Berger. They were $680 last time I checked. Now $7.50 for Morikawa. Still less expensive than Sam Burns. A little bit surprising. Not amongst the top tier players here for Colin Morikawa in tonight's jock market. Jordan Spieth trying to break through the $6 mark. He's now $5.99, and Brooks Koepka still at $4.81. So this is very much shaping up. We might be close out. We might have guys tapping out on bids here, saying this is too expensive. It is $8.58. We might be tapped out. Let's see. Let's give this one more refresh. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I still got something in.
Okay. John Rahm is now the most expensive golfer in the jock market, $9.66. So someone said, you know what? I've had an extra couple seconds. I'm going with Rahm. He's now 30 cents more expensive than John Rahm per share. Bryson and Victor still there. Patrick Cantlay, the only other golfer, over $8. Morikawa at $7.50 is shocking to me. I guess we'll see how that goes. Hideki Matsuyama, Sung JM, $5.91 each. Brooks did get a little bit of a boost there, $4.90. That could have been our good friend Joe. We'll check with him in just 1 second. And apparently we are closed. Shut it down. Wow.
Whew.
That was late.
That was late. There was a lot of flurry of action there down the stretch. Chad, this is electric. You were right, my friend. We closed it down with a little extra time on the first event of 2022.
All right. Everybody relax. Everybody regroup. The first IPO of 2022 has closed. So we're going to let the dust settle. We are going to let my big board refresh. Joe's going to give us his portfolio. Now's a good time to remind you, if you haven't deposited yet, use the code POWER. That'll get you up to a $50 deposit bonus. And if you drop your Jock Market username in the chat, I've got a little bit more cash to give away this evening. But Joe, I'm giving the big board a refresh. But while that's happening, why don't you let us know who has made your portfolio for the Tournament of Champions?
Yeah, you got it. Let me pull it up here. Oh, so I ended up with, I'm waiting for them to come over to my holdings. So just a moment, Rick. 7 guys. So I kind of swept the floor a little bit, you could say here. So I missed out on a lot of the top guys. I had some shares of Morikawa late that I lost. I had some Burns late that I lost. But here's who I got. Jordan Spieth,
Nice.
$5.99 a share. I went with the boomer bust guy. Jason Kokrak, Mark Leishman, Max Homa, K.H. Lee, Joel Damon, and Cameron Davis. Those are my guys.
So your most expensive golfer is Spieth, right? Did I hear that correctly?
Spieth is the most expensive. Yeah, I tried to sort of stick to a strategy. I really didn't want to go above $7.50 a share. I mentioned that I didn't think anyone would go for more than $10. I don't think anyone did, unlike last year. So we'll see how those final ones paid out. But I think Rahm got up there in the high nines. But like we saw with those events closing down the fall, there's been a little bit more scrunching together of the gap.
Yeah, let us know who you got in the chat. I see JG Funk got Smith, Kokrak, Gooch, Brooks, Homa, and Kisner. That's pretty solid. And again, I think that's that strategy of kind of living in the range that you are in, Joe. But you are absolutely correct, my friends. No golfer did go for over $10. In fact, Jon Rahm and Justin Thomas both went for exactly $9.66 per share, which we kind of entered this evening with those two probably being the front runners, and we ended the evening in the similar spot.
Yep, absolutely. We had the feeling those two were going to get there. The surprising one to me, Colin Morikawa, down there. What was he, like sixth on the list down there in the under $8? I think I had a late bid on him of I want to say like 765 or 766. Looks like he went just a little bit higher, but I would have been willing to pay that $7.80 price on him.
Even 777 on Xander feels like a steal, doesn't it?
I mean, what are you asking them to finish there in that case? If we go through,
do you have the payouts on the app available
right now? So at let's say $7.80. You're basically asking them to finish top 10 this week. Anything better than top 10 for Xander or Colin Morikawa at the Sentry, and they're going to be making you money on an elevating spectrum all the way up to 25 if they finish first.
There are Tim got Cantlay, Berger, Answer, Kim, and Mickelson.
Mickelson was cheap. I almost did it. He was like in the twos.
He's the cheapest golfer. He's the cheapest golfer out there, $229.
Yeah, that's real cheap. I don't mind that at all, Tim, because if you think about it, if he finishes dead last, you're getting $1 back. So you really only paid, $1.29 for shares of Mickelson. If he can somehow squeak together like a top 15 this week, you could see a lot of ROI there.
Joe, there are two differing opinions on you in the chat, my friend. JG Funk, I think, is upset with you because you were in a bidding war on Cam Davis. So I think
I got a lot of shares of Cam Davis. So I went back.
You and JG Funk have a little bit of a beef. But how about this? Quote, "There's no one better in the golf game than Tour Picks. Love your analysis, Joe. Can't wait to win big in 2022 with you." Wow.
You can see me blushing through the camera, through this HD camera. Thank you, Fran Millionaire. I appreciate you greatly, bud. Thanks for the kind words.
That's awesome stuff. Okay, let's check out the rest of this board here. Spieth, $5.99, talked about that. Reed, $5.11, didn't really know what to do with him. Brooks, $4.90. I would have paid more for Brooks than Patrick Reed. I don't think I really care about anything else.
Yeah, I know. It kind of feels like nobody's on him, and he might just show up this week. We'll see.
Love the price on Cam Davis, $345.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right about the bottom. Like, I'm not a Mickelson guy this week, but $2.29.
Like, say you had I don't know, because you get $1 back if he finishes dead last. So, say you have 30 shares of him. If he can somehow finish in the top half of the field, the ROI is going to be there on a guy like Mickelson for sure.
Does anything else stand out to you here?
Let me kind of take another peek through there. I mean, not much love on Hideki. Nothing else really seems too far off there. I mean, Leishman I thought was cheap. I'm surprised he went below Harris English this week. Abe Answer, I had some shares of that made a late run. Your guy Gooch there with definitely some more sentiment than like Reed, Answer, Koepka, guys that are lower than him on the odds board is a little bit surprising. A lot of Sung J M love this. These guys are all great players, so it's really tough to sort of decipher. But It appears that on the website version, the leaderboard is showing some guys already in with a massive expected profit. Our guy Austin, who we had on the show, profit right now, if he sold basically all of his shares, is at almost $1,800 for our guy Austin.
Oh, I see it. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see if I am in the right contest here. So are you looking at the same thing where T-Fla has a $1,200 profit?
Yes.
Are you also seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. So that is current to this. Hold on. I might be able to show this.
That's current. That's based on expectation versus what they bought of shares on. So it's an estimate. It certainly could get much better. It could get much worse, but that's a pretty nice, comfortable margin there at almost $2,000 before they even put a T in the ground.
Look at this. You can actually see the activity coming in right now. Bids on Jordan Spieth. He's already been traded at $7.18. That was after IPO close. There's an ask on Max Homa, a couple bids on Justin Thomas and Cam Smith. So there is activity already, and there's going to be a longer amount of time, Joe, because this thing doesn't kick off until basically Thursday afternoon for most of us.
Yep, Thursday afternoon. And the beauty of Jock Market, as we talk about all the time, one of the other factors that make it so cool is once they do start, it's only just begun. So you can sell your shares at any point during the tournament. You can look to ask and bid on shares of other players. If you see an opportunity, you want to add them. You could also short players if you see a guy at the top of the leaderboard that you think is going to come back down. So there's a ton of different ways to play this. They've been doing some awesome sort of promos to kind of entice people to do a little bit more of the live trading as well. So I know that they've got some of the jock bots in there who are running at an extreme negative in the live trading just to kind of get people more involved and get this thing more going. So very cool.
Yeah, all right, let me take care of a couple of housekeeping items here. Coltrane, congratulations. We'll get $20 into your account as soon as possible. I showed the web version of that. I will drop the link in the description as well as the link to the Discord if you want to continue the conversation there. That's going on. What else am I missing, Joe? Anything?
I think that's it, man. Every Wednesday, 8:15 p.m. we'll be here throughout the season. So great job tonight. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah, use the code POWER if you have not deposited yet. That's up to a $50 bonus. But otherwise, we will catch you next week. Sony, let's go.
Peace.